Relationship advice. Update 2. How do I, 24 male, convince my sister, 31 female, that I don't want to sleep with her fiancé, 30 male? Original story. I know the title sounds strange. I'll try to be concise with all of the context. I, 24 male, have a sister, 31 female, and due to the age gap, we were never close. We grew up in the US, but after college, my sister moved to Europe. I haven't seen her much since she was 18, and I was about 11, but because we weren't very close, we were fine with the occasional texting and every other year Christmas visits. Two very important pieces of context for the story. The first is that, even with the age gap, we look extremely alike. And a few times she's been home since I was older, 16 and 23, people have commented that we could be twins. The second is that I am 100% straight. I've only ever dated girls and have never been interested or experimented with men in any way. I've been with the same girl since I was 21. Okay, so on to the main story. About a year ago, my sister met her fiancé, who I'll call Rob. I met Rob for the first time this Christmas. We quickly bonded over a shared hobby, RuneScape lol, which added a ton while he was here, and because it was Christmas, we were usually drinking. He seemed a little touchy, touching my arm / my back, laughing a lot, a few oddly timed hugs. I thought nothing of it. Maybe that's just how Europeans are. I've never been. Anyway, they went back to Europe just after New Year's, and Rob and I have been casually chatting on WhatsApp, mostly about video games. Then one day, he stopped responding to my messages. A few days later, I asked my sister if he was okay. She said yes, but she needed to talk to me. We agreed to FaceTime the following night. To keep it short, here's what my sister told me. Rob found me extremely attractive. Apparently, because he's attracted to my sister, he also found me attractive. We look a lot alike. And is now questioning his sexuality. Like I was some sort of gay stepping stone? My sister said they were going to work things out, but she asked that I stay away from Rob. I figured I rarely see them and this was all bizarre, so I agreed. She also asked me to promise I'd never sleep with Rob. Which is insane, because not only am I straight, but the implication is that I'd sleep with my sister's fiancé unless I was told not to. I told her she was being ridiculous, and I'd never do that. We got into an argument because I wouldn't specifically agree not to F him. I asked why he wasn't being held accountable. It should be his job to leave me alone. He's the one who wants to sleep with me. I'm not attracted to him at all. I was told I wouldn't be invited to her wedding. She hung up on me after I told her Rob would probably cheat on her with someone in Europe if she wasn't even sure he wouldn't sleep with her own brother. It's been about a week since this happened and I don't know what to do. We haven't talked since. Neither me nor my sister has told my parents, but it will definitely hit a boiling point when wedding invitations go out. What the hell do I do? Should I apologize and promise I won't sleep with Rob to smooth things over? Also, just to be clear, I find nothing wrong with being gay / bi or anything else. None of this post is coming from a place of me being upset for being accused of not being straight or something like that. Edit. I'll be speaking to my parents about it tonight. Mostly because I'm worried my sister may try to frame this situation differently. I'll be showing them this post, as well as the message Rob sent me since I posted here. We'll update in a few days. Now let's read the top advice before the first update. You promise her not to sleep with her boyfriend, as long as she promises not to sleep with your girlfriend. I love this one. It simplifies how to make her see how crazy she is versus the top comment, which I think is too complicated to work. Okay, I'll promise, but first you promise me you'll never sleep with my girlfriend. What? Why would I ever do that? You should keep your distances from both of them. This is an insane situation, and your sister is heading towards big problems. This is heading to a blow-up between the two of them, or a miserable life if she does marry him. Agreed. But if I were OP, first, I would email her saying that I'm hurt by her behavior, blindsided by her significant other's admission, and not interested in being involved in any of it. Include a bullet list on why her demands are absolutely nuts, which are plentiful. Then go no contact until she figures her stuff out. Then you at least have something to cover your butt with your family, in case it gets worse and she tries to throw you under the bus, because there's an almost defined chance her situation will worsen significantly. In these types of situations, a way to ease things is just ask, in your mind, what do you see happening? She'll say she envisions him cheating on her with you. You respond, why would I do that? Why would I sleep with a man, any man, when I'm not attracted to men at all? Make her follow her own absurd thought process and pull the thread until she unravels the whole thing and see it doesn't make sense. It takes two to tango. What does make sense is her insecurity about her fiancé's newfound sexuality. It probably sucks to be in her situation and she doesn't know what to do, but certainly not your responsibility to deal with that side of things. Best of luck to you both. And now for the first update. The post got a lot more attention than I was expecting, so here's what has happened in the last 2 days. I grew increasingly angry at my sister over what felt like accusations on her end during our conversation. I saw some comments about getting ahead of this and talking to my parents ASAP so that my sister couldn't get to them first and spin the story. Originally, I wasn't worried about this, but her behavior during our conversation was so erratic that I couldn't put it past her. I live only 20 minutes from my parents, so went to their house for dinner that night to have the talk. I asked them to refrain from commenting/asking questions until I said everything. I covered the basics. Rob and I had chatted. He stopped responding, so I talked to my sister. She blew up. I told them all the details. Rob was into me. Sister said they were going to work things out. I was asked not to sleep with him, and I got angry. I was very clear to my parents about why I was upset. That I was uninvited from the wedding. I know I'm not perfect, so I also told them what I said to my sister before she hung up, which I do regret. When I finished what I had to say, my dad started laughing, which he is known to do when he's uncomfortable. My mom was absolutely horrified. They both admitted that they had noticed he was touchy-feely with me over Christmas. We talked for a while about the questions they had. Had Rob said anything to me before the phone call? No. Had I known Rob was gay/bi/questioning? No. We had a whole discussion about why I wouldn't make the promise to her, and to my surprise, they were completely on my side. Now, here is where the crap hit the fan. As I mentioned in my last post, Rob had messaged me. He had said he was so sorry for causing all of this, for ruining my relationship with my sister, etc. He said that he was confused, but he does love my sister and wants to move past this. I responded much later that night, right before going to my parents, by saying that things may not recover from this, and he should have either broken up with my sister to figure himself out or kept this to himself. My parents were beyond upset to hear about this, and that I wouldn't be going to the wedding. Even though I asked them not to, they called my sister immediately after I left their house. They wanted to know if she was okay, why she was so accusatory with me, and what was happening in regards to the wedding. Well, folks, it was a crap show. According to my dad, she started freaking out, yelling, sobbing, and accusing them of taking my side. My dad tried to explain that there are no sides here. They just wanted to remedy the situation. Their call lasted less than 5 minutes, with my sister going on a tirade about how this is her life and she won't let us ruin it. She claimed she saw my response to Rob, and that we were all trying to break them up. She then uninvited my parents, who were paying for the whole thing, from the wedding, and blocked them on everything. We are all worried that she's having a legitimate mental breakdown. We have no way to contact her, and we have no family anywhere in Europe to help out. We have no idea how to help her. At this point, we are quite sure the wedding won't happen, as my parents certainly won't pay for it after all of this. We are worried she may hurt herself, but we know Rob is a good-natured guy and will hopefully take care of her. I'm at a total loss. My sister and I were never close, but I never imagined her relationship with everyone in our family would completely implode within 72 hours. Honestly, looking for advice on where to go from here. Rob hasn't blocked me on WhatsApp, but I am unsure if reaching out to him is a good idea. Now for some top comments before reading the final update. Why am I starting to get a sense that Rob's sexuality has come into question by your sister even before your situation arose? It seems like the situation you guys had was the final straw that broke the camel's back, and it sent your sister into some manic episode. Edit. And it's now just making more sense to me that he was flirtatious while drunk. I'm sure that they've gone out before and he's done the whole flirty/touchy/feely deal in front of her before. This is why I think she is so upset. I bet she knew before Rob did and thought ignoring it would make it go away. Or if he never realized it, then maybe she was wrong and he just has that vibe, but now she can't hide from it. And to compound her anxiety, it was her sibling that opened the floodgates. It isn't Toby's fault in any way. I think she is just lashing out. Had it been a celebrity or complete stranger, she could be mad at either. It makes me think of that King of Queens episode where they can pick one fatty Soleil and the wife picks some celebrity and the husband picks the clerk they see every week at the store. I wouldn't contact Rob if I were you. I'd get your parents in contact with him though. You should remove yourself from the situation and just pass it off to your parents. Yes, I've deleted Rob from WhatsApp and I'm completely stepping back from the situation. I will wait for my sister to, hopefully, come around. I don't even care about an apology from her. I just hope she's okay. You're so hot, you ruined an entire family. Stop being so hot, bro. Achievement unlocked. Familial home wrecker. Now for the final update. Well, it's been a year since my post, so I figured it was time to give a quick update since this account still gets messages asking about it. This will be the final update. As a very quick recap, my sister's fiance Rob had a crush on me. My sister for some reason blamed me for that and had a breakdown. When we last left off, my sister blew up at me and my parents and no one had a way to contact her because we all live in the US and they were in Europe. About a week after that, my sister called my parents and begged them to pay for the wedding. She said that they would be welcome to come, but that I was still not invited. My parents did not accept this, as they felt the situation wasn't properly resolved. Cue another total sobbing breakdown from my sister. We were all worried about her mental health, and so I went against my better judgment and called Rob to talk to him. He had basically told me that my sister was going back and forth between trying to kick Rob out, he owns the house they live in, by the way, and trying to convince him to get married. At one point, she claimed to be pregnant and threatened Rob with a termination. As far as he was concerned, their relationship was over, and he was trying to convince my sister to return to the US. This caused an additional breakdown with my sister because she was convinced she had ruined her relationship with her family and would never take her back. Eventually, she moved out of Rob's house and in with a friend of hers. This is where we stopped hearing from Rob altogether. She lived with her friend briefly but didn't have a job. She was mainly supported by Rob, and her savings didn't last long. She finally called my mom in early March, intensely apologetic, and asked if she could come home. My parents paid for a plane ticket home and she basically arrived like 2 days before the world shut down. She's been speaking to a therapist via Zoom for about 9 months now, but she's still very depressed. I don't talk to her very much, and I'm not sure if I will ever forgive her for her initial reaction to the situation. We are cordial when we get together as a family. We have a small bubble, but I won't ever look at her the same way ever again. Regardless of her mental health, she decided to go nuclear on me for something that her fiancé did wrong. Now for some comments. Oh, I remember this. Thanks for updating. Sorry it didn't have a better ending. Thank you for the update. I'm sorry that this story didn't have a happy ending for you, besides your sister ending up in a relatively more stable situation and getting therapy, I guess. Your sister definitely could have handled this better, and it sounds like after her initial reaction, things just spiraled more out of control for her. Living with your parents is probably as supportive of a living situation as one can hope for. I hope she manages to get on her feet again one of these days, but that's entirely up to her. The same goes for her having a sibling relationship with you again. If I were you, I would feel similarly. She was jealous, and in response, she basically flipped the table on the entire family. It's not the end. Perhaps in the years to come they will reconcile. Your sister is an example of a pygmecia, basically a woman with incredibly low self-esteem that derives all her worth from her romantic relationship. She didn't view that as the end of her engagement. It was an intense attack on her self-worth. You see it a lot, women blaming the other woman rather than their boys, but in this case, it was you. Either way, it's whoever is tempting their man rather than their man, because if they say to themselves that their man isn't a prime catch, it again reflects badly on their self-worth. Women like this choose men for superficial reasons, and then never leave them no matter what the man does. They also do things like get pregnant just so a man won't leave or fake it like your sister did. I hope your sister gets some serious psychological help before her next relationship, and finds something to add meaning to her life besides a man. Thank you for the update. Take the time you need for healing yourself and let the therapist handle your sister. I'm sorry this entire situation even happened. Now for the last story. My male 32, girlfriend's 27, parents have never accepted me and think I'm too old. And her sister, 29, physically attacked me one Christmas. Time to leave? I've been with my girlfriend for 4.5 years now, and we have lived together for about 1.5. Now, we've obviously had the usual ups and downs of long-term relationships, but have always been faithful. No gaslighting or physical abuse or anything horrible. I'm quite an introverted person, slightly nerdy but enjoy working out, and work full-time as a scientist for the health service. I did do things a little later in life, so didn't go to uni till 23 and now I'm 32. I met my girlfriend when she was around 23 and I was 27 turning 28, so about a 4.5-year age gap. Fast forward, a few months into dating and we were out in town, and her parents text her to say they were about and would like to see her. "Would you like to come meet my parents?" she says. Despite my introverted nature, I thought, sure, I like this girl a lot, why not make an effort? So we go into this bar and met her seemingly upper middle class parents who wait for my girlfriend to go to the bathroom before laying into me with, "How much do you earn? How long till you are at the top of your field? I notice you have ear piercings. Do you have tattoos? Do you have your own house? What car do you drive? How long have you been courting our daughter? What are your intentions?" Girlfriend comes back from the bathroom, seeing me awkwardly smiling, and then her mom asks me how old I am, to which I reply 27. She then ignores me and looks at her daughter, 23 at this time, and says, "Oh my god, he's so old," girlfriend's name. "Why are you with someone so old?" And repeated this 3 or 4 times. All said like I was literally invisible without looking at me. Anyway, I promptly left and it took me a good few days to get over that one. Fast forward maybe 4 to 6 months and we are off to my girlfriend's parents' house to stay over. Yay! Her mom seemed pleasant enough at first, but then at dinner, made some huge conversation piece about a guy my girlfriend used to be in love with and went skiing trips with, etc. Asking her where he was and why doesn't she see him anymore. Normally, I'd brush it off, but I was beginning to see a pattern of her just trying to make me feel horrible. The next day, she gave us a lift into town and asked my age again. This time, I had a birthday and was now 28, so she did the same thing. "Oh," girlfriend's name. "He's so old. Why are you with someone so old?" Next encounter. We went up to Manchester to visit her sister, and her parents were there. Luckily, we didn't have to spend too much time with them, but her dad decided it would be funny to call me James because I look like a James. Despite being corrected by everyone else, he was like, "Nah, I'm going to keep calling you James." I know it's not much, but he was absolutely trying to belittle me. We also went out for dinner. Me, my girlfriend, and her sister on one table having drinks, and her parents on the next who very loudly and openly had a conversation that we weren't involved in about how I was going bald and if I'd have no hair soon. Next encounter was Christmas about 2 years back, before we lived together. So I was over at my girlfriend's flat with her friend, and my girlfriend had invited her sister over for Christmas. Everything was fine. I had to work a couple shifts like Boxing Day, but it was relaxing and I chipped in where I could. Tidying up, made them breakfast. So, in the evening of Boxing Day after I just got back from work, and I'm sat on the couch watching Shrek as you do, and my girlfriend's sister comes in, "Hey, do you want some dessert?" I reply, "Ooh, yes please. That would be fab if it's not any trouble." She then crouches down and gets right in my face and says, "Well, why did you make some yourself, you bone-idle twat?" Needless to say, I was pretty taken aback and thought, bugger this, so escaped to a spare room to call my mom and wish her a Merry Christmas, etc. I can then hear her sister stomping around the house. "Where's that freaking twat gone?" That's right, run away like a little boy. Then she comes to the spare room and gets in my face saying, "I've got a big freaking problem with you," and started screaming at me. All the while my girlfriend does absolutely nothing to stick up for me. So I decided to calmly get up and leave. Her sister chases me out of the house begging me to come back, and I say, "No, I think it's best I leave. You have somewhat soured this evening and ruined Christmas." Then she chased me down the road, grabbed on me and punched me in the face twice, and told me my girlfriend hates me and thinks I'm a C-word. To which I lost it and told her if she didn't buzz off, I was ringing the police. She replied with, "Go for it. Who will they believe? A grown man or a little blonde woman? I know, right?" So I basically had to run away in the end. Turns out, she then went back to the flat and sliced her wrists, and my girlfriend had to take her to A&E, and I have absolutely no doubt it was for sympathy as she'd acted like a complete nut. It's been years and she still never apologized. After that, I decided to essentially not bother with her family anymore. Except 2 nights ago I heard my girlfriend having a Zoom call with her mom and sister. I was in the lounge with headphones on but could hear. And they got on the topic of the COVID vaccine, and my girlfriend pointed out I'd be getting mine quite soon as I work in the healthcare handling all the positive samples, etc. To which her mom replied with, "Yeah, I can imagine him being high on the list to get it because he's so old." My girlfriend said nothing. This was the final straw for me, because now I know she's not only doing it to my face, but is having digs and belittling me behind my back too. And my girlfriend just sits back and says absolutely nothing. So I'm stuck with this one. I feel like if her family can't accept me or even be remotely civil, and she won't stick up for me against her mom or physical violence from her sister, then it's time to call this relationship off. My girlfriend wants to buy a house and live together in it. But all I have in my head is that her parents and sister will want to stay and will basically be able to turn up whenever they want. Also, because of all this, I get quite down about our relationship and it isn't physically intimate anymore. Maybe once every 2 months? I know why her mom has this problem. All her cousins on the mom's side are high academic achievers like doctors, etc. and have their own houses at 30. And because my girlfriend went to a grammar school and comes from a posh county, her mom probably thinks she should be with some magical 27-year-old home-owning doctor. I'm tempted to send a really sarcastic thank you card in return to the quite rude card they sent me for my birthday this month, and then breaking up with my girlfriend. Maybe I'm too sensitive. The idea of another 20 to 30 years of having them in my life, to the point they could show up whenever, makes me depressed as hell. What do you all think I should do? Now for the top advice. I have never ever been so glad to see a post end with, and then breaking up with my girlfriend. If she truly cared about you, she would have done something already. She's never going to stand up for you. She's the reason this is allowed to continue. This. Also, I would bring up every single thing they've done to you that your girlfriend done nothing about. Tell her you can't be with her because she doesn't have a spine, without using those words, or do if you're feeling spiteful. Don't buy a house with someone who doesn't cherish you the way you do them. Random internet guy here. If your girlfriend is cool with the way they treat you, no amount of time is going to change that. Life is too short to be ridiculed and attacked for just being yourself. Talk to your girlfriend about why she's okay with that they do and have done, then live the life that makes you happy with or without her. Good luck, homie. At the end of my 3.5-year relationship with a man-child who never defended me from his mother, the only thing I had left in me was the blissful realization that I would never have to see that witch again. Your girlfriend doesn't defend you. Therefore, she believes what they say. Frankly, you need to leave her and inform her that her offensive family and her constant allowing the abuse is why she's going to be single and renting. This isn't an ultimatum situation. This is a dump her and move on situation. She needs to grow up and deal with her family before she will be ready to have her own family. OP, it sounds like you're on the fence because your girlfriend is pretty cool, but her family sucks. Unfortunately, your girlfriend sucks too. She's not defending you. She's not choosing to remove those crap heads from your lives. And she's not going to. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. That applies to your girlfriend too. Don't commit yourself to this misery. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Update. I, 24 male, caught my sister, 26 female, trying to steal a watch of mine. And now my mother, 51 female, wants me to apologize to her. So last night, I had some people over to celebrate moving into my new place. I had some family and friends, including my sister and my mother. For context, when I was growing up with my sister, she would often steal from myself and other family members. Money from my mom's purse or dad's wallet. She'd sneak into my room and take things. Even steal money from our grandparents, etc. We aren't very close because of this, and I always try to keep an eye on her when she's around. Despite this, I decided to invite my sister over because she doesn't live too far away, and I know my mom would have been upset if I didn't. I put all my watches and valuables in my safe, but I left out the watch I had planned on wearing that night, but ended up not wearing it and leaving it on my dresser. At one point during the party, my sister asked me where the bathroom was, and I pointed down the hallway and told her the bathroom was on the left. A couple minutes later, I went to go grab something from my room and saw her come out of my room as I was walking down the hall. She gave me this startled deer in the headlights look, and said she was looking for the bathroom and walked away really quickly. I immediately got worried and went to do a quick look around my room. I immediately noticed a watch missing from the top of my dresser. This isn't some cheap $20 watch. I paid over $30K for it earlier this year. So I left my room and went straight to my sister to confront her. I pulled her off to the side so it wouldn't cause a scene and told her that I knew she took my watch, and if she gave it back right then, I wouldn't call the cops. She got extremely defensive and started yelling about how she didn't take anything from me and how I'm an a-hole, etc. At this point, a lot of people were staring and listening. She told me she was leaving and started heading toward the door, but I knew if she left, I might never see my watch again. So I grabbed her purse from her and dumped everything on the ground. Sure enough, there is my watch right there on the ground with the rest of the stuff from her purse. My sister screamed at me and called me a freaking a-hole and scooped up most of her stuff and ran out of my place. My mom followed her out and ended up not returning to the party. So after an awkward rest of the party, I got a call from my mom. She was mad at me. I got some long lecture about how I didn't need to humiliate my sister in front of everyone at a party, how she couldn't help herself, and that my sister is crying and upset now because of the scene I caused. She also got mad at me for going through my sister's purse and told me that I should never look in a lady's purse, and it was a complete invasion of privacy. First of all, I tried to pull my sister off to the side. She was the one who started yelling at me and causing a scene that made everyone look over at her. I also wouldn't have to go through her purse if she didn't steal from me and deny it and try to leave. I'm not just going to risk losing a $30K watch because I shouldn't look through a lady's purse. So now my mom wants me to not only apologize to my sister, but to tell all the guests that were there that it was a big misunderstanding and my sister didn't take anything. I'm really not sure what I should do about my mom. There is no way I'm going to apologize to my sister. She should be the one apologizing to me. And I'm certainly not going to lie to my house guests to get my sister out of the awkward mess she created for herself. I also don't know what to do about my sister. At this point, I'm pretty much just done with her. I think she should be the one apologizing, but I doubt she will ever do that. Thanks in advance for any advice. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. If you want to be snarky, you could point out it would have been even more embarrassing for your sister to have been arrested. Honestly, I don't have good advice for handling your mom. As far as your sister goes, it's time for the kid gloves to come off. If she steals from you again, treat her like the thief she is and call the cops. Don't bother lying to the guests. That'd be enabling. I would say don't give the sister a chance to steal again. If someone tried to steal $30,000 off me, that's it. We're done. I would refuse to see them in any capacity whatsoever. A good idea. But from the explanation given, I made the assumption that family dynamics may end up putting Opie and his sister in a similar situation again. Wait, why did your mom say your sister couldn't help it? What makes your mom think your sister can't help stealing? There's obvious history here, that you even mentioned, of her stealing. Has your family just always swept it under the rug and enabled it? Almost certainly some kind of kleptomania, although not a very severe one if she's only stealing from friends and family. But still, that would be enough for some mothers to claim their child should be pitied and not punished. Now for the first update. I invited my mom to lunch so that we could discuss what happened at the party and where to go from there. I explained to her that my sister stole a very expensive watch from me. It wasn't just some trinket, and it shouldn't matter even if it was. I tried to pull her away and confront her in private, but she chose to yell and curse at me and cause a scene. I also told her that I understand it is never okay to look into someone's private purse or bag, but that sort of etiquette goes out the window when tens of thousands of dollars of my stolen property is in her purse. My mom then went on a long rant about how we are all family, and that her and my sister believe that a family should share in each other's success. She told me that my sister was just upset because I was hoarding all of my money for myself, and that is understandable what she did. Mom said that I would never have gotten where I am today without all the work she put into raising me and the influence her and my sister had on my life. Then she went on to tell me that I owe it to her to evenly share my success with her and my sister, since we are family, and they would certainly do the same in my position, which was laughable. At this point, I'm pretty dumbfounded. Not only because she thinks my sister's actions were somehow justified, but because she credits herself for my success and thinks it's selfish of me not to share with her and my sister. And don't even get me started on her trying to act like her and my sister would do the same. I know for a fact my sister would not give me a dime if I were 10 cents short for a heart transplant. And my mom still owes me tens of thousands of dollars that she borrowed and swore she would pay back, which I don't expect back and wrote it off as soon as I gave it to her. I just can't even fathom how my mom could actually think like that. At that point, I was so furious and didn't want to say anything I'd regret. So I got up and walked out. Oh yeah, I also got a text half an hour later saying that I owed her money for lunch since I was the one who invited her, despite the fact that neither of us had even ordered before I left. As far as my sister goes, I haven't contacted her and she hasn't contacted me. At this point, I'm just done with her in my life. I don't know if I should do the same for my mother though. I would hate to not have a relationship with her, but I just can't believe how she could possibly think those things. Would love some advice on what to do as far as my relationship with my mother goes. Thanks. I was amazed that your mother reacted the way she initially did, and figured it was because she didn't know the whole story. After reading this update, I'm dumbfounded and angry. Both of their greed will not go away anytime soon, I think, especially with your mother crediting herself with your hard-earned success. You are probably better off without having either of them in your life. Right? Like if Opie's sister had tried to steal a $30,000 watch from a shop or a stranger, she would be in jail right now. So not only is Opie supposed to forgive his sister, he's supposed to enable it and give her more? WTF? Would love some advice on what to do as far as my relationship with my mother goes. I would keep it at the bare minimum. They see you as a cash cow, and you need to stop the flow of money immediately. That means no more loans, and no discussion of finances, period. I'd cut off contact, complete and absolute, until I was apologized to and the finances were never again to be discussed. Second update. Small update I thought I'd post. She called me but I didn't want to talk, so I let it go to voicemail, and she left a voicemail telling me to check my email. Here's her email. First of all, it was very rude of you to walk out on me at the cafe. I was humiliated, and you should know better than to treat your mother like that. As I said in the text, you owe me money for lunch since you were the one who invited me, so please bring $60 to give to me at Craig's barbecue. It is a shame that I even need to be telling you this. I know I raised you better than that, but you really need to start supporting this family. We are all one, and the success of any individual needs to be spread around the family. Your sister works as a pastry chef and is always more than happy to bake for everyone and brings us treats from work. I wish you would do the same. You can start out by helping me with the new apartment I'm moving to. The rent is $4,250 per month, not including utilities, and I'm planning on moving in around the 1st of September. So that gives you plenty of time to set up some sort of monthly bank transfer. I'm going to need $8,500 in about 2 weeks for the first and last month's rent. I'll also need you to come over a few times this month to help move my stuff over there. Bring the bigger truck, unless that's the manual because Todd doesn't know how to drive stick. As a thanks for moving my things over there, I will cover the security deposit myself so you don't even need to worry about it. And you still haven't apologized to your sister, so please get that done this week. It will take 5 minutes tops, so just get it done. It was wrong to humiliate her like that, and guess you had to be the one comforting her. Me? Like usual, text me to confirm that you got everything and let me know how soon you can bring the big truck over. I should also mention that I currently pay for her rent, but after some long guilt trip about how she gave me free food and housing for 18 years, so it's time for me to repay the favor, I can clearly see now that that was a big mistake. And now she just assumes I'm going to pay her rent at some new huge place that costs twice as much and that she doesn't need? At this point, I'm done giving her any support. She clearly has no appreciation for it. Third update. So I just sent my mom an email letting her know that I will not be giving her any more money. Here's the gist of it. I will not be paying the rent for the new, more expensive apartment you want to move in. Not only will I not be paying for that, but I won't be paying for your rent for any apartment anymore. You will have to do that yourself. In addition to that, I will not be giving you any money whatsoever. You have shown that you have no respect for me or the work it takes to earn money, and I cannot continue to pay for things you don't need. I know this means cutting back a bit, but there is no reason for you to be living outside your means, and I won't subsidize your expensive lifestyle. I wrote it all out completely different, but that's the gist of what I told her. So just waiting for the freak out I'm sure is going to happen. Last update. After going through all the comments, thanks for the advice by the way, I decided to send my mother an email letting her know that I will absolutely not be paying for the new place she made plans to move to, and that I will stop paying her rent altogether. I told her that she clearly does not respect me or the work I put in order for me to be in a position to give her the money that I do. I also told her that I would not be financially supporting her in any way. A few hours after I sent the email, my phone starts blowing up. Calls over and over again. I still really didn't want to talk to her, so I ignored them all. A little while later, I get a call from my friend Dave, except when I answer the phone, it's my mom. I found out later from Dave that she showed up at a bike shop he works at and made up some story about her locking her purse with her phone and keys in the car and needing to call me for a ride. She immediately goes off on me about how ungrateful I am and that she's disgusted by the email I sent, etc. She told me that it's my duty to make sure she's well cared for and comfortable, as she's the reason I'm here in the first place. The worst part was when she told me that if she knew I was going to end up this way, that she wouldn't have put her life on hold for the last 2 decades in order to have me, and that I costed her her job and my dad and a bunch of her life plans. I couldn't even get a word in with all her yelling. The last thing she said was something along the lines of, "You need to have a come to Jesus moment and realize how much you are hurting your mother." I have already packed up most of my stuff, and I've spent a ton of time setting this move up. I expect the $8,500 before the weekend is over in a cashier's check, so let me know when you have it. And then she hung up. I don't think I have even been so mad in my entire life. She pretty much just told me that I need to make up for everything she missed out on in order to have me, by giving her money and making sure she's taken care of. I called her back and she tried to start talking, and I don't remember exactly what I said because I was so angry. But I basically told her to shut the hell up and let me talk, but with more swearing and yelling. I'm usually pretty calm and would never swear at my mom. I would never even swear near her. And I know I shouldn't have said that, but I wasn't thinking straight. I told her she better find another place to live or pay her rent herself, because she wasn't getting another dime from me. I turned my phone off after that because I didn't want to deal with any more calls or texts. I eventually needed to use my phone, so I turned it back on and just blocked her number. I saw that I had some calls/messages from her, but I didn't want to look at them. This morning, I got a call from the front desk at my building telling me that my mom had tried to get up to my room, but I had already told the elevator staff/security to take her off my guest list. Apparently, she caused quite the fuss when they wouldn't let her up. She's blocked on my phone now, so I haven't heard from her today yet. But I expect her to blow up on me again for what happened this morning. I think she's probably in denial and thinks that I will cave and pay for her new place. I'm worried about what she's going to do when the deadline for her to pay for her new place comes up, and I refuse to give her any money. The move-in date is pretty soon, and I'm sure she has to pay it pretty soon. I'm actually surprised she hasn't had to pay already. So that's going to cause a massive crapstorm. I'm really worried about what she's going to do. Thanks again for all the advice. Final comments. I can see where the sister gets it from. Yeah, something tells me Opie's mom was in on the watch stealing. Imagine being so stupid you blew up your entire life, all because you couldn't reprimand your daughter for having sticky fingers. Glad Opie got away from that crap stain of a mother. She didn't even need to actually do anything to the daughter. She could have kept her stupid mouth shut and continued living life on easy street. But God forbid her golden child get called out on her BS. She literally did not think the sister did anything wrong, so why would she ever reprimand her? In her mind, everything she said about Opie owing her for giving his life, and also owing the family because he was so successful, all of that is a fact, and she will live and die by that belief. She never thought she was blowing up her life. She fully expected to get everything she was demanding. Absolutely crazy level of delusion. Wow, and he was paying the mother's rent. Way to bite the hand that feeds you. Mom not only bit it, she chewed it up, swallowed it, digested it, and popped it out at the back end. Update on my sister thinking that her husband is the father of my baby despite a DNA test proving he wasn't, and identifying the real father. Original story. The real father can't legally claim our son without causing himself issues, so we agreed to an informal arrangement where he didn't claim him but still paid support. He gave my sister his name, and he got on a video call with her and verified that he was the father, but he just can't do a formal DNA test or claim our son. To clarify by formal DNA test, I mean one that would be court-ordered and result in him taking parental rights, while the informal test was done privately, and we have agreed not to take it to a court. Despite the actual father telling my sister that he was the father in the DNA test, my sister is still convinced that the father is her husband, as they share significant physical resemblance that the bi-dad also shares. Other than the physical resemblance, which I would say is debatable as he's a baby and looks like a potato most days, my sister suspects that her husband and I had an affair, because her husband and I have a lot in common and were friends before they got together, and it's really good with my son. We're also all living together, so she thinks there was opportunity. We told her until we were blue in the face that her husband wasn't the father, and we got another test through the same facility that did a test on the real father to prove it. But because it was done by the same facility, my sister then suggested that we switched the names on the test results. At this point, I have no idea what to do. She's being incredibly difficult for no good reason. She won't listen to us, and we don't know how to deal with it as we feel that she's locked onto this idea and won't drop it despite all the evidence we've given her. Any ideas? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Honestly, if she doesn't care to listen to you or to reason, maybe cut her off for a bit. That's a harmful thing to be saying about someone. Does she have kids? Is her baby the first family's grandkid? Part of the problem is that we live together, so there's only so much cutting off I can do. Neither of us can move out either. This is the first grandchild, and the first baby for several years. And I was actually the youngest family member overall before my son was born. But our parents aren't in our lives. Mom passed while Dad sucks, so is not exactly a grandchild. Ask her to collect DNA samples of your son and her husband, and to send it off wherever she wants to get it tested. Then she can believe the results. We have said she can do that anytime she wants, but she has yet to arrange anything. I think you need to move out. This sounds quite delusional, and I do not see you resolving this in a quick manner. I can move out, but not immediately. We co-own the house we live in, and right now I need to stay here for financial reasons, as do my sister and her husband. The layout of the house does allow for some space to be enforced, but not much. Can't your baby daddy help you get a place that's safe to stay, for the kids' sake? He's still working out the finances on his end, so we have a consistent amount of support that he can realistically keep to. He is sending some money right now, but until the other financial plans are in place, the money he's currently sending isn't enough to cover everything. And now for the update. While I didn't fear for the safety of my child or myself, several commenters on the last post did. And when I showed my sister's husband the post, he admitted that he found a secret camera in their bedroom a few weeks ago. When I heard that, we agreed to deal with this now. We talked to my sister yesterday, saying that if she didn't give us a rational reason for her behavior, we would both go and stay with friends, separately, until she saw a mental health professional and we knew it was safe for all of us to be around her. She locked herself in a room. When her husband asked to be let into the room so he could get his bag to stay with his friend, they began arguing. And between rounds of arguing with him, she would come crying to me. Literally. Between us, we got the truth from her. While my sister has always told me that she was on the fence about kids, she told her husband that she definitely wanted them. Truth is, she has never wanted children, and doesn't think she ever will. She knew this before she and her husband got together, but lied thinking that after they married, she could talk him out of wanting kids. She managed to convince him that they should hold off on kids, until I had a baby, which prompted him to ask her about kids again. She realized she had to leave him, but then she lost her job, so he was supporting both of them. A no-fault divorce requires they live apart for years before filing, and my sister could no longer afford this, so she realized it would have to be an at-fault divorce, and it would have to be his fault. She never believed that he was actually the father of my child, but she thought that by freezing out both of us, combined with her accusing us of cheating, being crammed into a small space together, him being good with my son, and our past friendship, it would all lead to us actually having an affair that she could catch on camera. She could then divorce him due to cheating, and rush the process and push for alimony on the grounds that he cheated on her with me while she was unemployed, and without alimony she would be stuck living with me, her husband's affair partner. The only flaw in her plan was that neither of us would ever do that to her. Her husband is currently staying with friends until he figures out what he wants to do. I'm at the house still, with my sister and my son. Things are tense, but she's agreed to sell the house, though she isn't happy about it. She has stayed in her area of the house all day, and I'm hoping she keeps to this. So, your sister is a terrible person. Hope you can see this. She lied to her husband and tricked him into a relationship under false pretenses, basically. Having kids is a huge life goal for some. That's just number one. She is so much of a C-word that she wanted to frame her sister and her husband to have an affair so she could get money? Jesus Christ, what a toxic person. I do know that it was terrible of her to lie to her husband like that. I was friends with him before they even met and set them up, because my understanding was that she was on the fence but willing to have kids and he wanted kids, so I figured they could work the details out themselves. If I knew that she didn't mean it when she said she was on the fence, I never would have set them up. Technically speaking, she didn't want to frame us. She wanted us to actually have an affair and face the repercussions, but she was also trying to manipulate us into doing it. And her plan was literally for me to sleep with her husband, so it's still not great. I didn't think there was a mental health aspect to this initially, but her plan just seems so messed up that I think mental health issues might be worth considering. Wow, I really don't understand how you could trust your sister with your health and safety or the health and safety of your son. She sounds insane and dangerous and totally willing to throw you under the bus in any way that would get her what she wants. If I thought we were at risk, I would long be gone, but I don't think she'll hurt us. I think now her husband is out of the house and she's confessed, there's nothing she can do to us, and she knows it. If I do begin to genuinely fear for the safety of my son, I will stay with a friend until I can get my own place. I hope that you've at least made your friends and family aware of what's going on. I just think your sister's behavior is way past what most normal people would consider sane, and there's really not telling what she'll come up with next. We have limited family, and of the family we do have, we interact with different members. I thought I would wait and see what her husband wanted to do. Your sister is straight up garbage. What kind of person does that? Holy hell, she's a freaking lunatic. You should really stay away from her crazy ass. There's really no excuse for that kind of behavior. She needs all the shrinks. We're stuck here sharing a house for now, but she is staying in her rooms at the moment, and I hope that she will stick to that, so she stays in her space and I get the rest of the house. I have no explanation for her behavior. I'm actually thinking this might be a mental health issue. This might be the first time in history that someone has wanted their husband to sleep with their sister. Next story is titled, My wife and her best friend accused me of having an affair, then got angry when I didn't have one. I, 31 male, and my wife, 29 female, had a baby last December. It was a traumatic birth, and my wife developed postpartum depression. While she was originally going to go back to work after the birth, she's been struggling enough that we decided to wait until our daughter was a year old and reassess, and she has been going to therapy weekly. With my wife home full-time, I've had to work increased hours. This is something we discussed prior to making this decision, and she knew this from the start. A few weeks ago, my boss approached me about a project that would require a lot of overtime in a short amount of time. It would both be great financially and for my career. I talked to my wife about it, and she agreed that I should say yes to my boss. For the 4 weeks I'd be working on this, my mother-in-law and her best friend Jessie, 29 female name changed, would come help out with some of the duties that I typically do. Jessie's a stay-at-home mom with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She began coming over during the day and would watch the kids with my wife. 3 weeks into the project, it became clear that we'd need a few more weeks to get it together. I went home that night and talked to my wife about it. She said she was okay with it, but got very cold in the days after. It wasn't unusual behavior over the past few months, so I didn't think much about it and tried not to take it personally. During the last week of the project, I got home one night and saw that Jessie was still at the house. I didn't think much about it, said hi to her and my wife, and then went to go check on our daughter. But before I could get to her room, I heard Jessie say something along the lines of, "He doesn't even stop to greet you." Definitely a sign. I turned around and asked what it was a sign of. Immediately, my wife started crying, and Jessie started accusing me of having an affair. She told me that I must hate my wife because she has PPD, and I'm not attracted to her because she gained weight from the pregnancy. Neither of these things are true. I'm trying my best to help my wife through her PPD while supporting our family. And I think she looks great how she is right now. She just hasn't wanted to have intimacy and I have it pushed. Jessie then demanded to see my phone. I told her no. She told me that's a sign that I'm guilty. I told my wife that I would let her see my phone if she wanted to. She nodded and something inside me broke. I guess it was the thought that she actually believed I was having an affair really got to me, and that she didn't trust me after everything we've been through. Well, she looked through the phone and there was no evidence.
Jessie started saying that I deleted the evidence. She started screaming and woke up our daughter, so I told her to get out of the house. Eventually, she left, and I went to calm our daughter since my wife was still on the couch crying. When my daughter was asleep again, I sat down by my wife and tried to talk to her about what's been happening. She told me that she's been worried ever since I started working all the overtime. I told her that we'd talked about how good of an opportunity it was, and she agreed to letting me take on this project. She said it was very suspicious to increase the length of the project. I told her that sometimes that happens. She wanted more evidence, so I showed her messages and emails with timestamps from work and pay stubs showing the overtime. She said she believed me and was sorry for doubting me. It was just that Jessie had been telling her that these were all signs that I was cheating. I asked her why she believed Jessie more than me, and why she didn't come to me with her concerns. She didn't have a real answer. It's been a couple weeks and the project is over. I actually scaled back, and I'm trying to work a little less than I was before the project so I can spend more time with my wife and daughter. But I feel so burnt out trying to do everything, and becoming resentful because in the back of my mind, I know that my wife doesn't trust me. I ask myself what happens the next time I have a project, or I have to run errands one day, or if I have a business trip. Am I going to come back every time to accusations that I'm cheating? I've tried bringing it up a couple times, but my wife tells me it's not the time, and that she's tired or sad. I try to be mindful of her feelings, but I wonder if that means that I can never have any of my own. I'm not sure what to do here. Any advice for how I can move forward? Now for the advice. This is a horrible situation made worse by your wife's friend, who is possibly projecting her own relationship issues on you guys. I would go to couples counseling and keep reassuring your wife that you love her. Depression makes you think crazy things. I hope the best for you. This sounds to me like Jessie is projecting onto your already very vulnerable wife. I'm happy to hear your wife is already seeing a therapist and totally agree that couples counseling is important. But just so you know, your feelings are valid. You are pushing yourself too hard and stretching yourself too thin. It's okay to feel the way you do, but please make sure you address your feelings. Don't bury them because it's not the right time. It won't ever be the right time, which is where couples counseling can come in to help force the conversation. You sound like a wonderful husband, and your wife sounds like she's pretty great too, and hopefully with some help you'll be back to your new normal with your little family. Best of luck, man. Jessie probably projected her own problems into your relationship. You have to tell your wife that she should trust you. Maybe some therapy. Her best friend damaged a lot of something that wasn't her freaking problem. She is the devil on your wife's shoulder. And Jessie should never be allowed in the house again. She's an enemy to the relationship. It's not just that Jessie's saying stuff like Opie's cheating. She's also undermining a new mother's confidence by saying her post-delivery body's less than appealing. She's playing Opie's wife's insecurities like an angel plays the harp. Why would you do this to someone you call friend? Last story. My friend group is torn over a fight I had with another friend because she asked me out. Me 27 male, and a girl Ava is 27 female. So Ava asked me out and it was in front of our whole group. I rejected her politely and she was understandably pissed. But she kept bugging me about why I rejected her because she knew that I found her attractive. True. I didn't want to say anything at first, but she kept pissing me off about it. So I finally told her it was because of her past multiple toxic relationships. She was shocked and angrily asked why I was judging her by her past. So I said that I didn't want to date someone who didn't respect herself and allowed herself to be willingly treated like dirt, and kept repeating the cycle. She had complained constantly to us and we told her to not date jerks, but she never listened. She then called me an incel and superficial, and said that she was just having fun. So I asked her why she couldn't have the fun with me, and she said because I was the boring/husband kind of boyfriend. Not gonna lie, that hurt me a bit, because I've got a low-key life. Work, play football, and hang out with friends. I've had multiple relationships, but gotten screwed/cheated on because I've not paid attention to the girl 24/7, or that I was too nice. I got angry at her, and said that she was just an old hag who couldn't have fun anymore because her makeup couldn't hide her ugliness, which I regretted instantly. She was in tears and left the apartment crying and went home. The rest of the dinner was pretty awkward in silence, and soon everyone left. Some of my guy friends called me later saying it was alright, and that I didn't do anything wrong, and she was asking for it. But some of my gal friends said that Ava was confessing to me and was in a vulnerable position, and I hurt her a lot. I've got no idea what to do. I don't want to mess up the group over this. She asked you in front of the friend group. She did this out in the open to put pressure on you to say yes. The head comment might have been a bit much, but Ava isn't all innocent toxicity here. She's disrespectful to people's no. I'd suggest avoiding Ava. Keep cordial but not friendly. Continuing to have fun with your friends and enjoy yourself. She got ugly on you first. Aha! Flip the sexes. If a guy had asked a girl out in front of everyone and pressured her, the Reddit goblins would goose step to a different tempo. Your response wasn't great, but I don't know what she was thinking doing that right then and there. I'd apologize for what was said and how it was said, but that's just me. And then demanding an answer as to why he said no while still in front of everyone. How awkward and uncomfortable for him that must have been. Like she was starting out with no boundaries or consideration already and then pushed, turning it into a scene. More toxicity, Ava.
Update. My parents want to give my sister the earrings my grandma left to me. Original post. This story is so weird. When I, 27 female, was 20 years old, I was in a relationship/friends with benefit situation with a guy, now 40 male. It was messy. We were on and off for almost 5 years. He was always clear he wasn't ready for a relationship, and I was always clear I was madly in love with him. Every time I got tired of the situation and wanted to leave, somehow he'd convince me to stay. Because love is free, we have so much time together, he wasn't ready to commitment. I asked my sister for advice, now 42 female, and she gave me some crappy advice. Like make him compromise, leave stuff at his place and basically turn him into a boyfriend until it was too late to him to say no. I never managed to do that because I wanted him to love me as much as I loved him, not trap him. The last night I spent at his place, he said he wanted to try something more serious with me. Talked about some dates he planned, etc., only to ghost me forever. It was hard. This was the first person I loved, and he treated me like crap. 6 months passed and my sister came home. We both lived with our parents, saying she wanted to introduce her brand new boyfriend. She had to have a ton of boyfriends, but she said this was the one. It was a dinner only with my parents at our home. So I was excluded and expected to just go out or chill in my room. The day came, and while they were dining, I ordered a pizza. I went downstairs only to find the guy I was with 6 months prior dining with my parents and sister. I was shocked, but paid for my pizza and went to my room again to cry. After dinner was over, I confronted my sister in front of our parents and begged her to not be with him, to be loyal to me, her little sister. There's no way she didn't know who he was. I had showed her pictures of him, his social media, where he worked, and she even knew where he lived. They never met because he didn't want to meet my family and never introduced his. But she knew who he was, and she excluded me from that dinner because she knew. She said they met by chance after we stopped seeing each other. She knew how hard his disappearance was for me. She knew how painful it was to not have even a closure. He just stopped replying. Not even blocking me, just left me there wondering after 5 years. She knew that during those 6 months, I was still hurting. I know how it was my fault. I was too naive and thought that if I stayed long enough, he would be ready for the relationship I wanted and would learn to love me. Stupid, I know. She defended herself, saying it was a coincidence and the chemistry was there. She loved him, and she wasn't going to lose the love of her life. This stuff only happens once in a lifetime. When I was in my early 20s, I would believe that. However, now, I know that there are 8 billion people in this world. There's no one love of your life. You can find the love of your life multiple times if you look for it. My parents sided with her and said I should get over it since we never have a real relationship. 1.5 years have passed. I've been excluded from multiple family gatherings because he would be around, and my family thinks I will bring negative vibes, since I'm still bitter about everything. I have no feelings for him, but I feel betrayed by my sister and my parents. He is just POS in my eyes now. My sister is now 6 months pregnant. Due to her age, she had been extremely pampered by my parents. She still lives at home and is going to move with him maybe 2 months after the baby is born. Then they're going to get married. In my culture, it's normal that a woman who gives birth to move back or stay with her mother, so the mom will help with the baby for the first months. A week ago, my sister's friends made a surprise baby shower. I happened to be at home. I tried to talk to them, but I don't know why. Maybe because my sister and I were close before and I'm sad that we're no longer friends. But her friends acted like I wasn't there and only replied to me with yes, no, or silence, as if I was the one that created this mess. Or I was a homewrecker. Or I tried to seduce my sister's man. I was planning to move already. I was saving money, etc. But after that, I left immediately to a friend's house and now in the process to find my own place. 2 days ago, I received a call from my parents asking me to have a talk. I went to their house and they informed me that the diamond earrings my grandma left me will be given to my sister. Those earrings have been in my family for 4 generations. And before my grandma died, she said the earrings will be mine and my sister will have received a gold necklace. Grandma trusted my parents with the earrings. There was no will or anything. She just asked to give it to me when I was mature enough to appreciate/take care of a family heirloom. Now my parents think that since my sister is getting married first and is having grandma's first great-grandchild, my sister should have it. I'm really mad now. They're robbing me of something my grandma left to me. I don't think my parents are evil. I think they were too worried my sister wouldn't marry due to her age. Which again, in my culture, a single woman in her 40s is something her family worry about. And now that she's forming a family, they want to reward her with everything. But I was the closest to my grandma. She made it clear the earrings will be mine, not my sister's. Not the first one to marry or have a child, but mine. After 2 years of being excluded in favor of my sister, I gave the ultimatum to my parents. They give the earrings to me as my grandma intended or I will cut them from my life forever. Not gonna lie, the idea of cutting my family off is too painful. But I feel they already made me and still makes me so wrong I don't want them in my life anymore. I feel a little shallow fighting over this, but those are only things my grandma left me. They're not entitled to them. Now for the top advice before reading the update 5 months later. Wow, your parents and sister have some nerve. OP gets ghosted, and 6 months later older sister is sleeping with her ex? Also, sister thereafter is super defensive about her partner? Who wants to bet she was seeing OP's boyfriend before they broke up, and that's why he ghosted her? OP, for Pete's sake, steal the earrings if you can, and then never talk to any of these people again. Your parents and sister are awful, and they will keep harming you if you allow them to stay in your life. Also, me suspects they only want to give your sister those earrings since she asked for them, knowing they're yet another thing of yours she can take. Oh, that's an excellent point. Sister has asked for the earrings because grandma left them to OP. Wicked woman. Get your hands on those earrings and keep them safe. They're yours and should be in your possession by now. Ask nicely. Then if she doesn't give them up, tell her you will sue. Then do it. Totally sue. They know they are wrong and trying to ask you for permission to feel better. Sue. Your sister stole too much from your life. Record your conversation for court proceedings if needed. Can't really sue. There was no will, just OP's word. But I do agree with A, getting out ASAP, and B, getting the earrings and hiding them somewhere safe. She should record a phone call with her parents in which she asks them repeatedly how they would feel if something their own grandmothers left to them was usurped to give to someone else, while reminding them a few times that they made a promise to grandmother to give them to OP. Now for the update 5 months later. Yes, I got the earrings. After my post, I went to my parents' house, opened a safe, took the earrings and left. Then after that I went again, told my parents I need time to process stuff and be my own self and gave their house keys. Said I was leaving for good. There were some tears from my mom saying she couldn't believe I was such a bitter person. She raised me better. I was turning my back to my family over nothing. And finally, that it was shameful that I would leave the family house without being married or anything. So it was never about me or her loving me or anything, but social pressure to keep an outdated tradition. My dad was very neutral, gave me a hug and wished me luck. For 2 months nothing happened, and I barely have contact with my family. Found a place to live, tried to heal. Have real fun decorating my new home. Your normal stuff. And then everything happened at once. For those 2 months, my sister and mom never reached out to me. Only my dad sent a text once a week asking how I was and wishing I was doing well. And then my sister's boyfriend / future husband / my ex started to follow me on Instagram again. I found it weird, but anyway, after all, he's my sister's boyfriend slash father of my niece slash future brother-in-law slash my ex with benefits. Then he started to like my stories, and then replying to them with heart emojis and looking good. This happened 3 times maybe, when I received a voicemail from my mom, calling all sorts of names for going after a man that I knew was engaged. That this was some kind of revenge over my poor sister. That I was causing her so much stress, her blood pressure level was to the moon. That I was an inconsiderate femme fatale, and that she raised me better. Later I learned through a cousin that my sister took her fiancé's phone and found several conversations with several women, including his attempt to talk to me. So, of course, she went to my mom crying about me trying to steal her fiancé. All messy, to be honest. Less than a week later, another voicemail from my mom asking me where the heck were the earrings. She went looking for them, and when she couldn't find them, deduced it was me. She called me a thief, a disgrace, dishonored me and said they didn't consider me family anymore. I was dead to them, and she will be taking legal actions against me for theft if it was possible. I had no option but to block her and my sister and other family members who sided with them. My dad later texted me to let me know my mom went nuts, but they won't take any legal action. By the end of last month, my cousin texted me saying my sister had given birth to my niece. I know I shouldn't, but I did it. Went to the hospital with a gift while wearing my beautiful and fancy earrings. I was kicked out, of course, but it was worth it. I have no plans to see them ever again. Well, maybe my dad. Also, my cousin, big gossiper that girl, let me know my sister is getting married in May, so she will have her happy ever after all. But I'm also living my best life right now. They are toxic. But legal action for earrings that were yours? I think I mentioned this before, but there wasn't a will. My grandma left it to my parents in good faith until I was old enough. So it was easy to say I stole them. I don't know if it was possible or if they had any legal ground. I know you think your sister may have won in a way by marrying your ex-boyfriend, but know that she's made a mistake of her life. That man has been running around on her this entire time. I guarantee you, and he will never stop doing it. Your sister will spend this entire marriage worrying about him cheating because she will constantly see the signs. OP, you dodged a bullet. Don't think your sister will get her happy ending. If her husband isn't already cheating on her, it's only a matter of time. Glad you got the earrings back. If possible, maybe try and get it in writing from your dad that they acknowledge that your grandma said you were to have the earrings. Maybe to the effect of, I'm glad to hear that you will not be taking legal action, but why did mom want to in the first place? And what has changed her mind? Just thinking that you might have some evidence of your grandma's wishes to show if you ever did have a legal issue. Also, I sort of empathize. My grandma passed just over a year ago now, and since I was 14, we would have chats about her jewelry and ornaments, as I would clean them and dust them for her. She said to me a few times, right then, my name, tell me which of this you want when I die. Very direct woman she was, and I always loved her eternity ring, as it was of course a very sentimental item. One of our last conversations about it was when she was 101 or 102, and we again talked about what I would like, and she again said she would talk to my mom about it and make sure I got it. Of course, her will didn't mention division of assets, just that everything was to go to my mom, her daughter. So when I asked my mom about the ring Grandma had promised me, my mom said that she hadn't been told to give anything to anyone specifically, and my sister had been over and seen the ring, and she really loved it. Cue about 5 months of my mother refusing to give anything of Grandma's to anyone because she didn't want to pick sides and cause an argument. Red, she favors my sister and didn't want to upset her. Finally, my sister came over and we talked about it. I said my piece about all the times I had spoken to Grandma about it and what Grandma had said. Happier ending than yours, as my sister did say I could have the ring, but the feeling of not being believed and Grandma's promise just being dismissed by my mom was awful. Plus, I felt I was seen as being greedy and materialistic because it is a very valuable piece of jewelry, but when I was younger, I didn't know that. I just loved it as it was what my grandma was given for having my mom and loved the history behind it. I'm glad things ended well between both of you and you got the ring. I also questioned if I was being just greedy and shallow for fighting for it, but it's the meaning behind it what makes it so special. Last story. I found out my daughter is sleeping with my friend who she's known since she was 7. I, 43 female, have a daughter, 22 female, who I'll call Liv. My good friend, who I'll call Adam, 42 male, has known my daughter since she was 7 years old. He would even babysit her for me and my husband, Steven, 46 male. My husband is as disgusted and outraged just as much as I am. I found out 3 weeks ago when my daughter hosted a party to celebrate her birthday. She said she wanted to do one day with her friends and then the next with her family. She even took it upon herself to invite Adam, which confused me because I didn't give her his contact info. I noticed they were awfully close with each other and it even made me uncomfortable. The final straw was when I saw him caress the back of her shoulder, and then I confronted her in private about this. She said that her and Adam had been seeing each other for about 6 months now. I was extremely angry and reminded her that she has known this man since she was a child. She further went on to say she was an adult and could make her own decisions. I stormed out and I cussed out Adam for even thinking this was all right. He fired back saying that she was capable of deciding what she wants. My husband got into the argument, almost causing a fight to break out. My husband and I left feeling ashamed of what had happened. It's now been 3 weeks and my daughter is still refusing to speak to me. I will not forgive Adam because I feel as if I don't truly know how long they have been messing around. For all I know, she may have lied about the 6 months and they could have had this going on since she was underage. The thought of it makes my stomach turn because if it is true, why didn't I notice? Everything was fine before I found this out and my daughter was a very well-behaved child. I wouldn't have never imagined this. I feel as if I am a bad mother because what if there were signs she and him were involved while she was still a teenager? I do not know what to do and how to move forward from this. Now for the advice. Oh man, this exact situation happened with my friend's older sister. She started dating her dad's best friend at 21. It was always a touchy thing in their family. Are they still together? No, not anymore, but they were together for years and even got married. It's always sad that the younger girl can't see that the way the older man is treating her is not love. He is willing to destroy her family life and isolate her, is willing to date a 22-year-old at 42 to great disrespect towards her husband being a family friend and not even asking. These are signs of a manipulative person who is seeking to rip her away and take advantage of a vulnerable person with less life experience. Men like him are sneaky, so try not to blame yourself for not seeing. At 22, there's nothing you can do, but try to tell her your wisdom if she'll listen and try to be understanding through it, so she feels comfortable to run to you when he starts to abuse her. Show her my comments on my profile so she can see evil people are out there to hurt others. It was hard for me to believe it until my 30s. I'm not sure myself how long the relationship has been going on, or how he treats her in the relationship. Adam was a really good friend before all this happened, and I never imagined this being a possible outcome. I'm going to take everyone's advice, and I'm going to try to initiate a conversation between my daughter and I. She is a grown adult, and I could have handled the situation in a better way. I will still refuse to speak to Adam because it's clear his moral compass is lost. But for those who tell me to mind my business, it's hard to mind my business when my child is involved with someone 20 years older than her and someone I know personally. I will try to keep an open mind and follow everyone's advice. Thank you. Even though this is a hideous situation, I've been that daughter. And what's really important is that she knows that you're not going to turn your back on her when it falls apart. It will hit her eventually. And even if she doesn't feel like you support her, she needs to know that you're not going to say, "I told you so," or make her feel like it's her fault. She needs to hear that you will always help her if she needs it for any reason. Don't make it specific to this, and that you'll never stop loving her. I know we aren't seeing eye to eye on what's happening right now, but no matter what you choose to do or what happens between us, I need you to know that I love you. And if at any time in your life you need someone, you can always call me day or night, and I'll be there for you. No questions asked. For those replying that it's daughter's fault and she deserves whatever consequences come to her as an adult, look at all of the replies from people who stayed in abusive relationships because they couldn't go to their parents for help. However OP may feel about this, and she's within her right to feel embarrassed or ashamed or whatever, this message is a matter of safety and well-being. You don't want your child to feel like they can't come to you when they need help. Updated. My sister and mother demand I watch their new baby 3 days a week. My 25 female younger sister, 21 female, is pretty pregnant. And for the last few weeks, she has been demanding that my significant other 27 male and I babysit her newborn every weekend, Friday morning to Sunday evening, so she and her significant other 21 male can have some cool time off from being parents, just to not overstress. Each time, I've laughed at her and shut it down with a quick, "Nope, I won't be." And she gets mad I'm not helping her out. Yesterday, she got our mother involved, and Mom called me and asked me why I was being a self-centered witch and so selfish and that she didn't raise me this way. I told her I'm a grown woman with my own house and life, and that if I wanted to watch kids as a second job, I'd freaking have some. She sputtered out something about me being a horrible person, then hung up on me. My significant other and my one aunt 100% is with me. However, my mom, dad, and the other 900 family members and friends, they got involved, are calling me out on Facebook and blowing up my phone. Quick edit for a few of the same comments coming up. My mom knows the full story of what my sister is asking. She essentially did the same thing with me when I was a bit older. She sees no issues with my sister getting this as well. I've never had a good relationship with my family, besides 16 female sister, aunt, and grandparents. I talk to mom, sister, dad, maybe twice a month. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your mom, dad, and the other 900 family members can watch their kid then. Problem solved. This. Tell them to freaking do it themselves. They as grandparents need to be doing it for their grandkids, not you. I am a grandma of 3 and another one in November. I take the kids whenever I can have them, but that is my choice. Stand your ground. You don't get weekends off from being a parent. Paraphrasing another saying I've heard. Raising children is like fighting a gorilla. You don't get to stop when you're tired. Lol, what? So let me get this straight. Your sister and her significant other are having a baby, but they want every weekend off so they can have fun while you watch their child? Every weekend? Yeah, sounds like they should have thought twice before getting her pregnant. That is not how that works. I had my son at 21, and guess what I did at most weekends? It's called being a parent. Ridiculous entitled nonsense is what I'd call your sister's behavior, and I absolutely fail to understand why your family's agreeing with her. If your parents think she should have every weekend off, they can watch the child. Oh yeah, my cousin has 3 kids, and guess what she doesn't have for the past 12 years? Right, a free weekend. Everyone is lucky if they have grandparents to watch the kids for an afternoon. But if you sign up for the little ones, then you know that some freedoms are gone for a while. To be fair, a free weekend every now and then is very nice, and I would have gone bonkers during 12 years without one. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a favor sometimes. But I ask my friends and family if they could possibly watch the kids for an evening or the weekend. Occasionally. Like someone who's well aware that this is a favor. What sane person expects someone else to take care of their child every weekend? Given the fact that mom immediately had her back on the idea, I'm going with someone who has probably gotten away with making various unreasonable demands a lot in the past 21 years. And now for the update. Hey everyone! Thank you so much for the support on my last post. Thought I'd share an update and answer some questions now that the baby's here. A lot of comments mentioned that our mother and sister probably spun some sort of tale about how I was just refusing to help period, not take over 45% of parenting. And, well, no. Those who I spoke to knew the entire story. They agreed that 2 21-year-olds need a break from parenting. Our mom did it with me, so why shouldn't sister get the same courtesy? Whenever family/friends message me about babysitting, or give me crap about it, my favorite response has been, "You're right, I am selfish/responsible/whatever, and probably not fit to take the baby this weekend. But I can be sure to let sister know you volunteered your time this week to help her out." Funny enough, everyone seems to have some generic excuse as to why they can't or won't. I worked all week, it's my wind down time. Not my child, not my responsibility, but somehow it's mine? And my all-time favorite response, it is your responsibility as the oldest to ensure your siblings don't make mistakes. And if they do, you take responsibility and don't let them ruin their lives over it. They're still kids who need to have fun. You had your turn. People of AITA and r/entitled parents, please take a moment and reread that last response. What would your reaction or response be? Baby has been here just under 2 weeks now, and my sister, her significant other, and our mother have left multiple messages and voicemails about when they will drop the baby off, their expectations for when I have the baby, routines, etc. And besides a quick "not watching your baby this weekend," I have not answered or responded about it. Then my significant other and I took some advice and invested in a doorbell camera and a few others around the house. And as most of you called it, my mother and sister attempted to drop the baby off at my doorstep 6 days after it was born, knocked, and tried to run. I spoke through the doorbell and told them they have exactly 2 minutes to pick baby back up, or I was calling CPS for abandonment. My younger sister, 16 female, called me about an hour afterwards, explaining that our mother had attempted to leave the baby with her as well, but it only earned mommy a dirty look, while youngest sister simply stepped over the carrier and walked out of the house. She has been staying with us since. Significant other and I have spoken to younger sister to see how she would feel, and we have a meeting with a lawyer to see if we have any ground to stand on for sister to come and live with us permanently, as our parents are threatening to call the police on my significant other and I for kidnapping/holding younger sister as a hostage. Oh, before I forget this level of beautiful pettiness, our aunt, the only one who has supported us, surprised younger sister, significant other, and I and took us out to her cabin for the weekend, where youngest sister posted pictures and tagged our mother, sister, and her significant other. Man, such an amazing weekend. Sure wish you guys were free to join. Edit. A few commenters mentioned wanting to know more about the doorbell reaction, so neither of them knew about the doorbell. It was a mix of shocked Pikachu and some kind of ragey raccoon faces, that they didn't just get away with it. My mother started to argue, but I cut her off by starting to count down. My sister quickly picked up the baby and they both left without another word. I would highly recommend that you consider calling CPS and reporting that they even attempted to leave a 6-day-old child with you via Ding Dong Ditch. Hopefully this was the last of it, but have it reported and on file. So if it continues, there is a pattern of neglect there to back your side. Absolutely. I'd turn over the doorbell video as all the evidence they need. That girl should not be allowed to care for that child. I have a feeling something awful is going to happen to it, and they're going to blame Opie for not taking on some of the care. What awful people to have as your family. I'd include copies of the text messages and emails where Opie clearly stated that they would not watch the baby this weekend, and then a clip of them dropping and running away. What if Opie and their significant other had left for the weekend to avoid them, instead of installing the camera? Who knows how long the baby could have been laying there before they were found? But the fact that you're taking your younger sister shows what a wonderful person you are. I hope everything goes well with the lawyer's office. Please add a second update about how your appointment goes. Agreed. She doesn't have to worry about her 16-year-old sister becoming an involuntary nanny. Bonus? It also frees up Opie's mom to watch the grandbaby on the weekend. Because now Opie's helping with a kid, just not the kid they want. This is crazy. How the hell do you just drop off your newborn? I had both my kids by the time I was 21. I got my girlfriend pregnant twice. I was/am an idiot. And we rarely use babysitters. We both worked full-time jobs. She worked during the day and I worked at night. My mom used to come over every once in a while and take the kids because she never got to see them. Not in a bad way. We just handled our own mess, and my mom wanted to see her grandbabies. It might have been different if my mom had watched them all the time, but then it would be more like a chore, and not a day out with her grandkids. They need to grow up. And your younger sister deserves a chance to be a kid, not a live-in nanny for her lazy sister. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my nanny with the family? First of all, I do not have a nanny. I have an amazing best friend named Willow. We also have 4 children, ages 12 to 1. Willow is childless and does not like kids. She does, however, love mine and they all adore her. Even my bonus baby girl cries when she leaves to go home. She will always offer to watch the kiddos if we want some alone time, and has kept them overnight more than once. Now, every summer, my husband's family likes to rent cabins by the river, and Willow usually tags along. By day 3, she offers to hang out with the kids at the cabin. I know her well enough to know that she is usually done with the sun, the water, and brother-in-law hitting on her by this time. She always says that this time with her godkids is the real reason why she comes. This year, when the restrictions were lifted in our state, we came up to the lake. At around 10, the baby was asleep on Willow. The adults were drinking. She does not. And brother-in-law was being creepy. So she announced that she was tired and offered to take the kids back to the cabin. Day 3 comes, and she, of course, asks if she can have the kids for the day. Later on the lake, sister-in-law made a joke about asking Willow to watch all the kids tomorrow, but we left it off. When we came back that evening, the kids announced that they were camping out in the living room with Aunt Willow. They asked Willow if she minded if we just went out to the resort lounge, and she was quite happy to kick us out. The morning of checkout, Willow made breakfast because it was her turn, and, of course, my sister-in-law had to comment, "You cook for them too? Wow." After we returned, I got a text from my sister-in-law calling me a snob for bringing our nanny on the trip. I told her that Willow was not my nanny, and that she paid her own way. She then called me a witch because I saw that they were all tired and frazzled, and that I could have at least asked Willow to watch all of the kids. I told her she was crazy, and I wasn't going to ask my best friend to watch 12 children. She doesn't even like children. My mother-in-law called soon after to apologize and ask for Willow's number. She told me that maybe if she paid Willow to watch my sister-in-law's kids for a night, she would get over her jealousy. She then proceeded to lay out a plan where my best friend would be passed around like some kind of mammy. This would probably be a good time to mention that my best friend is black. I just hung up on her. My husband thinks that I should have at least asked Willow before I said no. I told him that I wasn't going to put her in that kind of position. He is downstairs right now, still trying to placate his mother. I can't ask any of my siblings' perspective because I know that they are also jealous of the kind of friendship that Willow and I have. Now I am torn. Maybe I should have asked her if she wanted to help out. Did I overreact? Am I the a-hole? Edit. To clear a few things up. Both brother-in-law and sister-in-law are my husband's biological brother and sister. His 2 brothers and sister were on the trip. Sister-in-law is the harpy, and brother-in-law is the newly divorced brother. I had to cut it out to make the word count. She genuinely loves my children. She messages me her days off asking to babysit. She'll ask to pick up the baby from the daycare, and frequently takes all the kids out on adventures. You don't have to tell me how lucky I am, but maybe it's time I told her how much I appreciate having her in my life. The part about her cooking breakfast does sound a little unfair, but she makes the most amazing pecan caramel cinnamon rolls, and it's become sort of a tradition for her to make them for the kids. As for the harassment from my idiot brother-in-law, Willow and I have been friends since college, and she is tall, confident, and she is very well endowed, both at the front and the back. People stare at her often, and men hit on her all the time. For some reason, when she walks in a room, men just turn stupid. Most of the time, she takes the comments in stride, but for some reason this year, he was just laying it on hard. This, however, is no excuse, and just because this is something that she deals with on a daily, it doesn't mean that she should have to deal with it on vacation. I accept the a-hole ruling for that one, and I'll ask my husband to talk to his brother. I've decided to talk to Willow this evening and show her this entire thread. Maybe post an update. Thank you all. Now for the top comments before reading the update. If they want to recruit your friend as their childcare provider, they can ask themselves and not ruin your relationship with her. Just want to check? Why does Opie allow her brother to be creepy to her best friend over and over and over again? Why are you putting that on Opie instead of her husband, his brother? Exactly what I was thinking. Opie isn't responsible for brother-in-law's actions. Brother-in-law should stop being creepy because he's an adult and knows how to conduct himself. Not a-hole. First, as your friend, I'd appreciate you keeping this boundary if I were Willow. It's nice you know she's a friend and showed it. It's childish your family gets jealous. That's for them to work through their feelings, not for you to placate at the expense of your friend's dignity. They can find a nanny anywhere if they want. Secondly, as a person of color myself, it would add a whole dimension to pass her number around as a nanny. Is that her day job? Otherwise, it's totally out of line. Mother-in-law's insane to think she can hire someone to placate your sister-in-law. Like, huh? She's not some dollar property to be passed around. Sounds like a bad episode of The Help, as if the movie isn't bad enough. Screw them, people. Keep having your friends back. And if you ever tell Willow, it should be to laugh at them. But it would make things uncomfortable for her. I suggest not allowing her to try placating them and babysitting, etc. She likes her godkids. That's her only duty here in my humble opinion. If she's a nanny by profession, it's different. You can ask if she wants new clients. But I wouldn't even. People who are entitled will be rude, and it would put your friend in a bad work environment and risk your friendship. I'd also say to give your friend a heads up like, hey, my family is being freaking crazy and are giving the impression that they want to ask you to sit their kids. I've told them no and to buzz off, but so you aren't blindsided, I'm letting you know. I don't know, giving her a heads up in case they go behind your back and ask her, then turn it around on you saying you said it was okay to ask. Entitled people are crazy. And if they're about to look like fools, they'll put the blame onto someone else. Not Stayhall, by the way. And now 41st update. Well, the conversations with his family went as expected. Sister-in-law was apparently holding a grudge from when we went to Vegas for 5 days in January, and Willow kept our kids. We also like to post our date nights on social media, and in her eyes, it's just, and I literally quote, not fair. Reasoning with mother-in-law was like beating my head against a brick wall. She couldn't understand why it was insulting, and thought it was a fantastic way for her to make extra money. Brother-in-law fake apologized for his behavior, citing he was stigmatized, and have you seen her bro? Then he formally asked my husband for his permission to bang his wife's hot black friend. I took the phone, that was on speaker, told him to go screw himself, and hung up. I meet Willow in a couple of hours, and I'm so guilt-ridden, anxious, and just plain angry at myself. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to hand her my phone and just let her read a thread. And now for the final update. Willow came over this evening, and she read pretty much the entire thread. She then told me some of the disgusting comments that she has had to endure from all of the men in his family over the years. She was even jokingly offered money once for just one night of fun. I asked her why she never said anything, and she told me that she was used to it and did not want to bother me. I flat out asked her if any of them had ever touched her inappropriately. She wouldn't give me a straight answer, and I don't want to push it. She was so nonchalant about everything, and all I wanted to do was cry, because even when she was the person wronged, she still tries to protect me. I told her I was so sorry for everything, and that she is under no obligation to be my babysitter, spare my feelings, or put up with my toxic in-laws. I apologized for my complacency in all of this mess, and let her know that I loved her and appreciated all the things that she does for my family. We hung out, we laughed, and we cried just like in college. My husband and I both told her that this was our last trip with his family, but whatever decides to for vacation next summer, she is more than welcome to come, as our guest, and she's not allowed to pay for anything. But she doesn't know that yet because she would decline. I know I'm lucky to have her. She's like my sister, and I'm going to start being as good as a friend to her as she is to me. Once again, thank you for all of your insight. I appreciate it more than you know.